Oh, yep. I'm gonna have to do this all again. Thank you, Hank. Right, sorry for that mishap. I was talking here and my microphone wasn't on green. Okay, so I was saying, welcome everybody to this Hot Takes live stream, where I'll be talking about things involving F1, a little bit over the top, a little bit of truth, just exciting stuff, some things funny, and I want you all to help me to keep the stream going. Every once in a while, I'll check the chat and see who wants to know anything. So first I'm going to say hi to Hank. Hello, Hank. I got your email, but I haven't read it all yet. But yeah, thanks for everything that you're sending me. I always read it. But, I have a lot of videos planned. So, I can't turn them into videos as of yet. So I'm just going to start with my hot takes in a minute. I wonder if I can see how many people I have in. 3 people. Okay. Okay. So, this week, a lot has happened. Tuesday night, we heard confirmation that the FIA was going to investigate Toto Wolff for getting information that he shouldn't have been getting. Now, my take on this is that Toto Wolff is guilty as fuck. He's guilty all this time, all these years. He's known stuff that nobody else knew. He misspoke a few times. He got caught red-handed. But you see, Susie Wolff got involved, and she involved the F1 Academy in it, and she blamed it on misogyny. Now, this is a tricky thing, because you don't want to be called a transphobe, you don't want to be called a racist, and you don't want to be called a misogynist either. Now, Ben Sulayem has this reputation already, being a Muslim, and stuff that he said in the past. Now, I love Ben Sulayem because you know how in the old days we had FIA bosses like Max Mosley, and these guys didn't give a crap. They just did what they had to do, and they were legendary people. Now, I feel that Ben Sulayem has that sort of vibe as well, but in all directions people are fighting him. And I saw a little clip of Lewis Hamilton. I saw Lewis Hamilton behind the curtains before he was called onto the stage, and Ben Sulayem was standing there, and he held out his hand to shake his hand, and Lewis Hamilton just blanked him and went past him. So I expect a lot of penalties for Lewis Hamilton next season, because the FIA will have their eyes out for Lewis Hamilton. Ocon, how he got like 6 penalties in one race? That's nothing compared to what they're going to do to Lewis Hamilton next season. So, why did the teams all unite and say that they didn't have anything to do with the investigation of the FIA? Well, I think my suspicion is that they don't like Toto Wolff, but they dislike people in the FIA even more. So they united and sort of screwed the FIA with their investigation. Maybe they talked to Toto and said something like, look, we can throw you in front of the bus here, or the next vote, you're going to vote with us instead of against us. Because, these team bosses, they're little politicians as well. They do things behind the scene that all benefit them. I won't jinx it, Hank. And you're right, being guilty is one thing, but to prove it is another. But that's why the FIA should have been really, really careful and should have, kept things in the background and sort of pulsed, sort of put feelers out if anything of this was true before announcing that they were going to do a big investigation, because that got everything rolling. At the end of the day, if a police officer stops you and says, I want to check if you've been drinking, then I could go, what the hell, man? I haven't been drinking in 9 years, and who do you think you are? And you're accusing me of drinking and driving. But then at the end of the day, that's just a police officer's work, to check if people have been drinking. So, yeah, I don't see really what the FIA did wrong there by stepping into something they've heard. So, but yeah, Ben Sulayem, I like him because he's a politician and he's direct and he says stuff that he shouldn't be saying, but it will cost him his job. Yeah, so that's going to happen in 2024. The FIA is just going to, get rid of their director and get rid of him. So, Toto Wolff, with all the stuff that we've seen from him in the past, him knowing about that stay on the car that needed to be on the car at the Canada weekend. Mercedes had that ready before, but at the time it was announced. Henk is saying the team bosses stood behind Susie to not be called women haters. They didn't support Toto though. That's exactly what I think, But they're all covering their backs, and maybe some of the team bosses did complain, but they're not admitting it. And one of those statements is easy to hand out, Like Christian Horner was on Sky F1, and they asked him about the situation, and he said, no, Red Bull hasn't filed an official complaint. But that leaves a lot of wriggle room for what they have done, So, that was that part of the stream. Is there any questions about Toto Wolff? No. The next thing I've written down is Hamilton will never win again. Winning, I'm not sure if he'll ever win a race again, because that might happen. He might be in P2 and Max in front will get a flat tire, like what happened to him in Baku, and he'll inherit the win and then win a race, but he'll never win a championship again. I totally don't see that happening. So these 2 years that he's having, I think if the W15 is another shitbox, then he might pack it in at the end of next season, which would be terrible for me because he's a great source of content weekly. But yeah, Hamilton, he's not as good as he used to be. He hasn't got the material anymore. Too many good people have left Mercedes. He's got a teammate who's feisty, Like, it's not, like, even if Russell's not driving very well, he's still putting pressure on Hamilton with qualifying and everything. It's not making it easier for him. So yeah, here Hank says occasional winning is possible. Yeah. If he wins an odd race, then he's the first driver to break the 300 race curse. But I've talked about this so much. But I just want to make this an official thing, I want to see on Sky Sports F1, oh my god, the 300 race curse. And then I'm the one that sort of brought that into the world. So, well, helped putting that into the world. So, yeah, Lewis Hamilton is not as good as he used to be. and he still brings so much attention that it's impossible to not have him in your team. But this is why the negotiations took so long, because he probably wanted to stay on the same money instead of taking a little pay cut. But I think he did it. Hank, do you really think Hamilton didn't drop off a little bit? I think he did. You know, just little things, you know, overtaking that takes a half a lap too long, contacts with other drivers that weren't necessary. We've been seeing that a lot the last 2 seasons. You know, the car, I agree, is not what he's used to. You know, it's definitely not dominant. But, you know, his starts have been a little bit slower. You know, the guy's nearly 40. So that's bound to happen. Yeah, the cars that he used to have in the era. Ah, there's Henry Mull. I think his great days are definitely gone. Too much eager young drivers now. Well, that's the thing, you know. The young drivers like Piastri and Yuki Tsunoda, they're daredevils, and they're not afraid to jump in. You know. So, one thing I wanted to say is I have adverts on, just to make a tiny little bit of money. So every once in a while you'll get a few ads. Yeah, you can click them away as soon as you can. I will get a tiny bit of money from it. Talking about money, I have memberships open for $2.99 a month if you want to support my channel, and in here you can send super thanks, and yeah, I don't exactly know how that works, but you know, if you want to do that, then that's much appreciated as well. Lewis was never a great driver. Good though, but not great. Well, that's a debate. That's a big hot take, that Lewis Hamilton might be carried by the supercars he had. Now, I have to say, I've heard stories about him in F2 where he broke his wrist at one point, and he's driving a kart with one hand and he won the race. You know, those sort of things have happened too. And I think Jenson Button, who was his teammate, said, as in natural talent, there's no greater driver than Lewis Hamilton. But, you know, for the full package, we need to come over to Holland, and that's where Max Verstappen is, because he's got that natural talent, then he's got the experience now, and he's got the knowledge, he's got the willpower, the what do you call it, the discipline to drop everything and do what needs to be done. And that's why Max Verstappen is the greatest driver of all time that will ever be. Here, there's another hot take. Max Verstappen is the best driver ever in the history of F1. Let me read out the chat. My wife Samantha says, I think at first after Abu Dhabi, he was thrown and just never seemed to find his feet again. Yes, I agree with you, Samantha, that his world was rocked, where everything went his way for so long, and then all of a sudden something went against him, and then he was hiding in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, and unfollowed everybody on Instagram, even his dog. And then what do you call it, he would have recovered from what happened in Abu Dhabi if he had a good car and started winning again. But on top of losing the championship that way, he had a shit box, and then on top of that he had another shit box. So yeah, That's why I think if the W15 is disappointing, he will absolutely quit. He's not going to wait for the W16. So, okay. Next thing, Vegas. Hello, Mr. Vegas. Welcome. I'm glad I caught the stream. No YouTube notice. You know, Vegas, what you should do is follow me on Twitter. On Twitter, my handle is, well, yeah, if you type in Wimbo. Oh, let me see. At Wimbo. Wait a minute. At Formula One Wimbo. At Formula One Wimbo. And I always throw out, 15 minutes before the stream starts that I'm going to do a live stream. And then, yeah, YouTube should give a notification as well if you have notifications plugged in. Okay. Hank Ormel says, Hamilton was definitely good. Ron Dennis didn't support his career for no reason. So, yeah, I agree with that. But we can close the book on Hamilton now, So, we're done with Toto Wolff. We're done with Lewis Hamilton. And the next subject I have is... Okay. Drum roll. Leclerc will be champion someday with Ferrari. It's going to happen. And I've also heard from Ferrari that next year will be the year for Ferrari. Yeah, you heard it here first. No, I hope that that is true, that Leclerc is signing that extension of his contract till 2029. I firmly believe that if you're in a team and you're first driver, the team is ambitious, the team is willing to do everything in order for you to win. You need to wait it out until you get your chance. I remember in 2017, 2018, 2019, when Max Verstappen was getting much, much better, but he was only getting 1 or 2 wins a season because the car, the engine was bad, and Adrian Newey didn't buy the best car at some stage, and everybody said, Max Verstappen needs to go to Mercedes. He needs to leave. He needs to leave Red Bull because it's never going to happen with Red Bull. But Max stayed, and he extended, and he helped getting that Honda project on the way. And as soon as they saw that AlphaTauri or Toro Rosso was doing okay with the Honda engines, Red Bull implemented it, and in 2021 they won the championship. Henry Mole says, wishful thinking? Yes, of course it's wishful thinking, because I could totally live as a Max Verstappen fan with Charles Leclerc, beautiful Charles Leclerc, winning a championship with mighty Ferrari. Can you imagine the scenes in Monza and Imola? The sea of red instead of the orange all the time. Sea of red. Ferrari people just going absolutely mental. Now that's something that would be really, really good for F1. Much better than a street track in Madrid or another street track in one of the American cities. A Ferrari championship would blow the sport up again. That's what I think. And we know that Charles Leclerc has the skill because the cars have always been below par, and he's still putting it on pole all the time. And yeah, you can tell, that he has this X factor, that he has more than the average driver, And he's a nice fella too. I like him. So yeah, I'm hoping for a title battle next year between Ferrari and Red Bull, and if not next year, then the year after. So, any thoughts on that, people? Henk Ormel says Leclerc is depending on Red Bull and Max Verstappen to drop the ball. Well, about Red Bull dropping the ball, what if they do an upgrade or they go into a direction that is a little bit too much, and they have to revert back? Then, all this development they done for 2024 in 2023, that will be diminished. Like, it could happen. It could happen that, Adrian Newey went a little bit too extreme in a certain direction, and it's costing them pace and development to get it all sorted again. So yeah, that's something a lot of people are hoping for. Vegas says Christian, Jos and Max make the Red Bull. Checo never had that. Lewis sort of did, but maybe more coincidence. Yeah, I think Lewis just, as we say in Holland, fell with his nose into the butter. He went from McLaren to Mercedes, that had prepared that engine for 7 years prior to that, and it worked, and he started winning pretty much everything until Rosberg beat him. And Christian, Jos and Max, they made Red Bull. That's true. And Adrian Newey. And Helmut Marko. And Hannah Smits. They were all very important. Basically, everybody in Red Bull is really good. Henk Ormel is making pukey faces and said, and another street track. Yeah, you know what Max says? These big cars, they're not good enough. They're not made for street tracks. So, what do they do in a calendar of 24? Yeah, put 6 street tracks in. And all the old ones, they're gone. I mean, they're not racing in Germany anymore. Can you believe that? So weird. Henry Mole is saying, the main problem is that all the new youngsters are in a way mentally broken by Max. Already a few years in F1, and who's winning? Charles just 5-6 wins, Lando nothing, George just 1, Albon 0. Yeah, I know what you're saying. These guys, they were in karting, 1 year to the other, very close to each other. Russell's a little bit younger, Norris is a little bit younger, Albon is a little bit older, Charles and Max are the same age, Esteban Ocon is the same age, and the only one winning championships is Max. And I can imagine that's frustrating. But what can you do? The only thing you can do is keep going. And at some point, when you're 32, 33, you might have to settle for the fact that you're never going to win a championship. Such is life. I like how Checo is saying, I'm going to do so much better next year. And I've got my P2 now in the standings. And next year, I'm going for numero uno. That's the spirit, Checo. It won't happen, but kudos for trying. Let's go back to the chat. It could happen, you're right. I don't expect that to happen though. Red Bull have had their correlation problems in 17 and 18. Okay, Vegas, you're saying, excellent chat. My granddaughter wants to practice. Good on you. Eddie Merckx. Henk Ormel says, Eddie Merckx was called the cannibal for a reason. But that's cycling. But, yeah, did he eat his opponents? left nothing for them. Okay, let's go on to the next subject. We can close off Charles Leclerc and Ferrari. The next hot take I have is Piastri will fight Norris hard. Now, Piastri was a rookie, kept himself really quiet. They had a few little tiffs, you know, a few little skirmishes, so to speak. But, you know, in 2024, they're going to go hard against hard. They're going to fight like mad. Because they were all pretty much equal, except that Piastri still had to get used to keeping the tires alive, which is, yeah, makes sense if you're a rookie, you know. So I definitely expect a little bit more fireworks, and if McLaren is as good as they finished the season, then I could see Piastri and Norris dropping points against each other, fighting each other, and Max winning. So I see another benefit for Max. So, see, this is a hot take. Hank Ormel says Oscar Piastri is beating Lando in 2024. Beating him. You know, I'd be happy either way. You know, for the scenes, it would be funny if Piastri did it. But then I like Norris as well, because he's Max's friend, you know. Hello, Nick Custers. Nick Custers is chatting in Dutch, which is fine. I can understand. But, you know, for the sake of this chat, I'll translate it. He says, nice video. I had it in my recommended. The 3 races that Max should not have won. That video is doing much, much better than I expected. You know, I just, you know, other YouTubers, they're doing these whole season recaps, and, you know, I just wanted to pick out a couple of races that stood out for me. Whenever they're talking about, you know, the dominance of Red Bull, I'm thinking, now wait a minute, Alonso could have won Monaco, Lewis Hamilton could have won Austin, and Perez could have won Miami because, you know, he started 8 places in front of Max. So, yeah, I started writing, and it turned out to be a nice little 8-minute video. See, it's very important for me to have 8-minute videos now, because YouTube puts another extra ad in the middle of the video. Yes? Don't click them away. This is how I make a tiny bit of money. Okay? I made $28 so far. $28 in 2 weeks. So, I'm not buying that Ferrari yet. But yeah, that video is doing like 250, 300 views per hour. And it's, I don't know, it's got 2,300 views already before I started the stream. My subscriber numbers are going up because for 13 months I've been struggling to hit 1,000. And then in 2 weeks, I have 1,275 now or something. So, okay, well, let's drop the whole YouTube thing now. You know, I've talked enough about this. I'm going to read out what Hank Ormel said. In January, the new technical heart at McLaren will start. It is to see the merging of the sitting and coming people gets awkward. Yeah, I know what you're saying. You know, there's people already there, maybe for 20 years even, because McLaren is an old team. And then these other people brought in from other teams with different styles and different ways of working are being brought in, and you know, they might fight a little bit. So yeah, I can see what's happening there. All we can do is wait and see. McLaren will have their new wind tunnel at their disposal next season, but the benefits of that will be in 2025, from what I've heard. So, yeah, Nick Custer says he has YouTube Premium. So, thank you, Nick. If you really like my channel, you can become a member for $2.99 a month. But, only if you're a real fan. Okay, so Oscar Piastri and Norris will fight hard next season. McLaren will fight internally because of the new people they have. And the development of the 24 car will be a lot. Yes. I think at this point we can close the book on McLaren, because I've got another one. This one is about Fernando Alonso. Alonso will have his last season next season. I'm sad. But yeah, Fernando will be 42 next season. We saw how Aston Martin started on a high, dropped away, got a little bit high, but you can just notice in the demeanor of Alonso that he was getting a little bit pissed off and a little bit fed up with things, and that's something he has had his whole career. That if it goes great, he's lovely and friends with everybody, and then as soon as things start going in the wrong direction, he starts being sarcastic and grumpy, and it's a pity. But I think if next season is disappointing, they'll stay P5 or on that those regions, fighting for points instead of fighting for podiums, then I think Alonso will pack it in. I think he will pack it in. I think he maybe should have stopped this season, because 5 or 6 podiums is probably the maximum he can get out of his at this stage of his career anyway. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want him to quit. I want him to keep going until he's 45. But then again, I want to see young drivers coming in as well. Like F2, 3 years in a row, the F2 champion didn't get a seat in F1. So why do we have these junior series anyway? Oscar Piastri had to wait out a year, and then he had to pull all kinds of strings to get that seat at McLaren. Yeah. Then Felipe Drugovich, he's assisting in the garage now because he's reserve driver at Aston Martin. And then was it Theo Porcher that won the championship this season? And he's not getting that seat either in F1. See, like, for the junior drivers to get into F1 is the only reason why I'd want to see more teams on the grid, just to have more slots. But yeah, I'm just gonna read out a few tweets, chats again. Hank says, "Why, for crying out loud?" I explained why. When he signed for AMR, they were 7th on the grid. That's true, but with the expectations that was built up with the first 7-8 races, I don't think Aston Martin being P5 on the grid a lot of times next season. I mean, being P5 means with 2 drivers that you're fighting for P9, P8. So I think he might quit next season if the car is disappointing. If the car's great, then obviously he'll keep going. Okay. About the F2 champions, the F2 champions were not great except Piastri. The rest became champions 2nd or 3rd year. Yeah, see, I don't follow F2 that much. But I mean, there's drivers on the grid now that were P3 in F2 standings, like Joe. So, if you become champion, then maybe you should get a seat in F1. But yeah, it's complicated. Um, I do love Fernando Alonso. He's such a funny guy. He he's great on the radio, and he's a real racer. Because did you see on the gala? Did you see the action of the year where he overtook Perez the last minute? That was awesome. Yeah, Hank says Alonso is very good at dragging a mediocre car fast around the track. Yeah, but what we want to see him do is drag a supercar around the track. And that's what he wants as well. He's done dragging, he wants to lead like Max. And if that doesn't happen, then he might quit. But anyway, we can close the book on Alonso. I've got another one. This one is a hot take as well. Haas or Andretti makes no difference whatsoever. Haas, how many seasons is Haas in F1 now? Did they start in 2015? Something like that. So that's 8 years. What have they shown? They can pay the bills, and they brought us Gunther Steiner and K-Mac. Do not fuck smash my door. But except for memes, Haas didn't bring anything to the grid. No podiums, no poles, nothing. And I'm sure they were hyped up as much as Andretti is hyping themselves up now to get into the sport. I think if Andretti would come in this wonderful, weird little world of F1, they'd be very disappointed in the results that they'll be getting, because it's hard. F1 is really, really hard. And they might be reasonably successful in all the other motorsports, but F1 is the pinnacle of motorsport, and it's so much more difficult. But for the vibes, I wouldn't mind seeing Americans come into the sport being really loud and obnoxious, and then, getting owned by all the European teams. And I have nothing against Americans. I love America. But yeah, they blow things up so much that you sort of want to see them fail, so to speak. Yeah, Henry Moll says Andretti is a winner, though. Yeah. But like I said, F1 is such an awkward sport with so many things that you need to be embedded in to be successful. So Hank says Haas started in 2016. Andretti will not be much better in the first years, at least. Now that's what I think. But every new team that starts, you think, they need some time to get started. And like I said, Haas is in their 7th year, and it's the fourth time they're finishing last, dead last. And I'm talking about European teams, being connected and everything. Look from what depth Williams is coming. They used to be the best team on the grid, the dominant team, and it all went downhill. And only this year they've been crawling out from under it. Yeah, Hank says Andretti wants to join on the cheap before the budget cap. He wasn't interested. No, that's true. But then again, who has $1 billion lying around to get into a sport? And if you can get into the sport for 400 million now, then that would be interesting. Henry Mole says that Andretti is not a clown, at least. No. What do you call him? Michael Andretti? No. What do you call the senior Andretti? He's a world champion, isn't he? Is he a multiple world champion? And somebody will tell me. So, yeah, some people have dollars, says Hank. Show me the money. Yeah. No, Andretti, great history. Oh yeah, Mario Andretti. But is he like a 3-time world champion? Or a 1-time world champion? Can't remember. Yeah. Single WC winner in 1978. That's a year after I was born. That's the year Samantha was born in. So that's ages ago. Okay, next subject. This is the last one I've written down, but maybe you guys can come up with something. The Red Bull sister team. I'm writing down the sister team because I don't know what they're going to be called. If they're going to be called Racing Bulls or Hugo Boss Racing Ballbusters. The Red Bull sister team will make a huge improvement because they're borrowing stuff and, having sort of a Red Bull replica as much as possible within the rules. And Daniel Ricciardo will get a podium. Now that's a hot take. Huh? Guys, what do you think? Huh? Oh, Hank, you're only 11 years older, so. Daniel Ricciardo will get a podium in the sister team of Red Bull. And I also don't think he'll leave, but I made a video about that. So you already know my takes on that. That video didn't do that well. It only got like 600 views. It was probably not controversial enough. Samantha, I love getting old. I crochet and have a rocking chair and 3 cats. And enough grey hairs. I'm good to go. Oh, Tsunoda will get podiums too. Mark my words. Both of them. Before the testing starts, I will do a blind prediction again with all the vibes I'm getting, and I'll probably put AlphaTauri P5, something like that, and they're still talking about age in the chat. No, I'm gonna stick with F1. So talking about old people, Daniel Ricciardo. No, just kidding. But yeah, I think AlphaTauri will make a huge step. And you see Franz Tost, he was a lovely old guy, very loyal, very nice to his drivers. But I think the new team principal, that guy that came from Ferrari, I forgot his name, he'll do a better job. And he won't mind living in Italy because he's an Italian. So I think that's going to be a huge improvement. Now, if anybody has anything to say about AlphaTauri, let me know now. And if not, then I'm going to flip this book. My hot takes are done. But maybe you guys have one about Alpine, or about Sauber, or about Audi, or about a certain driver, or anything. And if not, then I've been chatting for 45 minutes now, and Wheel Sports live streams are always 45 minutes as well. So, I don't see how I don't see it as a problem if I keep it with under an hour. Hank says Raging Bull 5th is a challenge, but not impossible. No, that's what I think. Sauber is very quiet. Yeah. Yeah. I think they're just hanging in there until Audi takes over. Like, what's the point in pumping in 200 million a season now? They're just doing the bare minimum until Audi takes over all the way. That's what I'm thinking. So I'll probably have them in P9 next season. Not nice for Valtteri Bottas, but then he's having fun in Australia, so don't feel too sorry for him. Anything else? Dear friends? Oh, by the way, I just finished recording a very controversial video about Abu Dhabi. It's going to be released on the 12th of the 12th, which is the 2-year anniversary of Max Verstappen's first win. It's going to be a comparison between the first race of that season and the last race, and the guy in the middle that made that way of racing possible. So be on the lookout for that on Tuesday. I might even go crazy and post it at exactly 12 o'clock CET on Tuesday morning. So midnight. Oh, Samantha says the gala. Yes. Thank you for reminding me, honey. I think Max Verstappen has the same suit and bow tie for every year that he's going, and I kind of like that, because he's probably thinking, yeah, I've got that expensive suit, I might as well wear it 3 or 4 times. That's the way I would be. So did you guys actually put it on YouTube and watch it? I didn't see much of it. I just saw pictures. And that bit where Hamilton ignored Ben Sulayem. I saw some pictures. Christian Horner and Lewis Hamilton standing side by side. In one picture, Lewis Hamilton was laughing, and the other one, he looked grumpy. So people were making stuff out of that. Just a practical Dutch guy. Yeah, Max is like me. Just practical. No nonsense. Well, I do like a bit of nonsense, but... Henry Mole says, it wasn't Max, it was a double. That would be so Max. It's like, oh my god, I'd rather stay home and go sim racing. I'll send a guy that looks like me. Who's very handy with technology? Max? I know he's great with cats. He's like my wife, Samantha. She loves cats. Okay, so if nobody has a hot take, then I'm gonna say goodbye. Everybody keep an eye on that controversial Bahrain Abu Dhabi video. I'm sure you'll love it. It's completely my style. Short, concise, with a certain direction, with a point that I want to get across. I think you'll love it. So, everybody, take care now, and doei doei.